Morning, folks. It is the start of a brand new month, and it's Thursday, the 1st of April. It's April Fool's Day, so I'm hoping that you're not going to throw a curveball at me, Neil. But my sons are actually over the moon that it's April Fool's Day today, so I don't know what they've got in store for me up until midday. But a very good morning to you. Groundbreaking today because this video, I think, will pop us over 600,000 views. And as I tweeted last night, it's been some amazing support from the public out there that have boosted the channel Clocking the Gallop. So much so that we've got our inaugural radio show, which starts on Saturday, Weekend Clubhouse. And that's we're hoping to get some more support that way too. But a very good morning to you.
Yes, morning, Nico. It is all about promoting racing, to a lesser extent sport, but I think that 600,000 is significant, as you say, but we're not going to stop. We can't stop. We've got to keep going. So it is another milestone, but we don't even pause these days for reflection. There was a time, I think, when we had 50,000, we made a cake, but now we're at 600,000, and there'll just be a cake via. That'll be about it. But yeah, looking forward to today's racing, Nico, because it's quite a competitive card, I thought.
It is very competitive, and the sun is out. It looks like it'll be good, firm going today out at the Vaal because the penetrometer is 22. They've only had 10 millimeters of rain at the Vaal, as opposed to Turffontein, which had a lashing just at the beginning of the week there. But they've only had 10 mils, and it looks like good going. The false rail 7 meters out in the back straight, up to 8.5 meters out in the bend, and there is an 8.5 meter spurt, the 600-meter marker. So once they turn into that home straight, or rather, in fact, all the races up the straight today. So that's basically it. They actually haven't updated the card. There's just one race, I think, that's over 2,000 meters. Neil, I correct myself there. One race is over 2,000 meters, but basically all the races are up the straight. But they haven't, funnily enough, given a straight track report today. They've just given the report for the 2,000-meter race. I don't see a straight report just yet anyway. So let's wait and see what comes out during the day. But most races are up the straight. You've got yourself on mute, Neil.
Yeah, I'm trying to manage mute because these garden folks have arrived again. So I'm trying to look, and I just wanted to say, sadly, we look at scratchings and so forth. I see there were two horses who died that were deceased. Yeah, Walter the Penniless and Mike's Sun Giant, who was a lovely, big, strong individual. I don't know what happened there, but very sad, when you lose horses, as we did on Dubai World Cup night. I mean, that was tragic. Yeah. So no one likes to see that or hear about that.
Yeah, we do commiserate with the connections there. As you mentioned, both horses have deceased, as we pick up in the scratchings today. And our serious condolences on to all. But let's kick on, Neil. We've got the soccershop.bet. Just for those people that might not have tuned into our live streaming on Tuesday, it's Derby Day on the weekend. We've got the Derby in the Oaks. We've got the HF Oppenheimer Horse Chestnut Stakes. We've got some feature racing at Turffontein. But the team at soccershop.bet have a price boosted double for you for the War of Athena Malmoose double. They're giving 28 to 10. And they've thrown and got the green light for the soccershop.bet Derby Day treble. And that works out to about 4 to 1, or a little bit more maybe than 4 to 1 now. But they're giving 11 to 2. So that's currently on the soccershop.bet website. We're going to have one price booster for you today as well, which Neil and I will work out at the tail end of today's show. But Neil, let's kick on. The first race is another Work Riders maiden plate over 1,600 meters. Scratch number 13, Just Judy. Earmuffs and the compression mask on number 11, The Lip. And I think those are the changes there. Blinkers, by the way, on number 2, Star Effect. But Neil, the Work Riders, as we said on Tuesday, the riders rode over 2,000 meters on the inside track. And to be honest, I don't think too many of them had a clue, apart from Sam Messier, who bolted clear on the winner in terms of the pace of the race. And the Vaal 1,600 is a specialist track. And for that reason, makes it all the more tricky to pick out who the winner will be, because it's whoever really gets luck and rides the best race in terms of pace.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to look at riders, which I suppose is to my detriment, but I try to go on form and then hope that you get a good ride. And on that subject, I think that 9 Gold Storm is likely to improve. He's got excellent form, and Joe rides for Sean. That's a recognised combination. So to me, Nico, I don't, as you know, get overly involved in these work rider races. But if I was to suggest one horse as a possible roving banker or put into your exactas, then it would be number 9, Gold Storm. More importantly, what do you think? Because I know you delve into it with much relish.
I do, but I don't have a very, very strong opinion, Neil, on this race. I've got to say that Tuesday tamed me because I didn't go for the winner or the second horse. I thought that it might have been too far for them, but you know, the pace was a crawl, and it worked out when Sam Masia bolted clear on his horse. Well, it was a one-horse race. So I've got a few in here, but whilst I talk about those, I'm also going to try and bring up the betting courtesy of soccershop.bet on the first race, which, by the way, runs at 1 o'clock. Your horse, Gold Storm, by the way, has attracted support and is at 15-10, as you'll see from the betting over here. I'm just going to quickly bring that up. But your horse has certainly got room for improvement after its first run when it ran 3 lengths or 3.5 lengths to Blue Eye. So here it is. So I thought the following horses had chances. I thought Nuspli had a chance on its run to Light Without last time out. In fact, it's got a couple of them beat, but whether or not they turn around the form is interesting. So Nuspli, I gave a chance to. Star Effect, the blinkers, I think, and the fact that Daniel Boss, who rode it last time out in the work riders, he rode it to the second to Ushuaia, who's not a bad sort from the Tarry stable. So I thought Star Effect at 6-1 had a chance. And the other one that, the other two actually that I thought had chances were 3 Sitting Bull, with Tobias Mango on board. Also ran in the Light Without form line. I thought that had a chance. And the other one actually was Global Player, who we mentioned on debut. It was Colin Govindaswamy's horse, ran 9 lengths behind Kinetra, but gets an accomplished work rider in Penisila Monkawa riding and has a tongue tie on. So I thought Global Player for bigger players in terms of prices at 14-1. But I thought it was all of those all had a chance, and I didn't like anything actually outstanding here.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Nick. As I said, I'm just going to stick with my Gold Storm, but I'll have a good look at him on the way down to the start. I know that Sean likes to have a good look at them on the way down to the start, Sean Terry, so I'll be doing the same.
Okay, let's move on to race 2. It's the start of the PA. It's a maiden plate over 1,200 meters, 8 races today. Scratches number 6, Silly Fella, who ran a better race during the course of the week, as I expected he would, and I think he'll improve with his racing. So only 6 runners go to post. Now, very interesting in this race, Neil, that I think it's the first 2-year-old running an open company this season in the form of Global Vision. So Michael and Adam Azzi have sent out the 2-year-old Global Vision, but as you'd know, Neil, they might get away with it in a sprinting trip, but they're, I think, with 3-year-olds, 8.5 kilos out at the weight in terms of the weight for rage scale. And Global Vision would have to be pretty good to beat a horse like Jill Boa. Now, Jill Boa is the half-brother to Shadow Creek, hasn't run for 7 months, but was gelded after his last start. And he was a beaten 7-10 or 7.5-10 favorite last time out behind the horse that you liked on Tuesday, Iceman Cometh, who goes on sale next week. But Jill Boa is the favorite, Global Vision. Neil, the horse that I thought might have a chance is the horse that's been backed with our good Henny Grayling on board, Watch Your Mouth. I thought had a bit of a chance here. And I see there's been a bit of money for that into 5-1. But what did you think of the 6-horse party?
Well, just fascinating. So I rang Global Vision and I wrote watch. So I'm not going to have a bet because of exactly what you said. This is the first juvenile and open company. And of course, we know, look, we're now into a new season, so the dynamics change. But we know that the 3-year-olds were particularly good last year. They've proven that with Jet Dark et al. But obviously, by definition, you know, you now get into a situation if you're a 3-year-old, right, that has had many starts, you're obviously not one of the better 3-year-olds. I don't think that Gilboa is guilty of that because he's only had 3 starts. But we now start a new process of finding out how good the 2-year-old crops are. So you picked up exactly what I did. What I will say is that the Kotanos form line, and you mentioned to me how good Kotanos is and how highly regarded he is by the stable. So hence me not having a bet, but watching this race with huge interest.
Yeah, correct. So Global Vision would have to be rated pretty high as a 2-year-old after his run to Cottonos last time out. But it's got a great dynamic to it, Neil, because of the 2-year-old factor against the 3-year-olds over here. Jill Boa 13-10. I thought that the value was with Watch Your Mouth. Henny Krailing has been riding pretty well. And I thought that at 13-10 versus 5-1, I'd rather be on Watch Your Mouth. Although Jill Boa is open to significant improvement, the fact that he's been gelded and comes down in trip from the 1450. So this is a very interesting race, Neil. It'll be interesting to find out what happens there. Right, let's move along to our third race, Neil, which is a maiden plate fillies and mares 1200. Scratch number 3, Zodiac Princess. Well, she won her maiden last week, so she's ineligible. Also out is number 12, Quest from Afar, who was heavily backed in her first run on Tuesday, and she didn't get out the gates well and ran on very nicely at the end of the day. Now, Neil, here, just having a look at the betting, the favourite is Magic Choice for Sean Tarry and Lyle Hewitson. But having a look, there has been a bit of support for the first time. Number 10, Miss Costa Rica, who has come in for some support and has shortened in a little bit over there. Not that much money, but those two topped the market here. What did you think?
Well, I think you've got to respect Miss Costa Rica because it's the Vercingetorix out of the Count de Bois mare. And the fact that Warren Kennedy rides clearly means that some work has been put in at home. They had a horse, as it were, come up on them on Tuesday, didn't they? One of the earlier ones.
Bathing Beauty, yeah.
Paul thought that there wasn't enough speed in the pedigree because it was a flower alley and hadn't had that much work and popped up. So if the ones that they don't like are winning, I think you have to really respect Mr. Costa Rica here. Magic Choice hasn't won yet. This is her 5th go, which is, I suppose, a story within itself. But what is happening, Nico, is the Willow Magics are running nicely. So I think you've got to respect that. I will have a look at the draw and see what happens, because Magic Choice has drawn 9. Mrs. Costa Rica is drawn towards the outside. Just, we raced at Turfentine on Tuesday, so we didn't have any Vaal straight form line. But from the evidence of what's been happening recently, you'd want to be where? Sort of up the middle towards the outside?
I think, yes. I think, as you say, it'll be interesting to tell from the first 2 races where the riders go, because most of the races today are up the straight. But normally it plays fair when it's good going, Neil, and there hasn't been that much rain, only 10 mil. So, yeah, I wouldn't factor too much into the draw. I thought Meet the Captain could also come into it because it's drawn 11. So all the horses, funny enough, that I factored in. I was going flat here, by the way. I was playing 4 horses. The other one was Rose Willow, the 6, who's drawn at 8, that I thought had a bit of a chance on a couple of runs. But that was a bigger price with Nathan Klink on board. But I think pretty much it'll play according to plan over here. But I'd be looking for the horses drawn higher.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nick. I thought it was quite thin, to be honest. I'm glad you mentioned Meet the Captain. That would be my clear 3rd choice. So I was holding it to those 3. But I think I certainly would respect Miss Costa Rica with the Peter Yard, with the Kennedy booking. And this one, of course, has got more of a sprint pedigree anyway. Well, certainly the Vercingetorix, they've shown that they can show toe.
Yeah.
I would respect that. But I'd be interested to see if there's a follow-through on Miss Costa Rica. Because you say it's now 5-2, eh?
Yeah, it's 5-2 now from 3-1, yeah. Yeah. But I think a lot of this because of the scratchings, Neil, as well. The scratchings would have brought all these horses in. Magic Choices at 9-10. By the way, there are 2 late equipment changes. Alamites go on number 11, Salute de Winter. So that's a gin strike there, wearing Alamites the first time, and a tongue tie on the 7th, Zulu War Cry. They're both roughies down at the bottom there. I don't think that this race will have an upset, although if there was upset potential, I'm sticking in Rose Willow for Brett Weber and Nathan Klink there at 12-1. Okay, Neil, let's move on to the 4th at 10-3. Small field for the Progress Plate here over 2,000 meters. As you mentioned at the start, number 5, Walter the Penniless is scratched. Blinkers gone, number 6, Watusi, and Blinkers gone 7, Ancient Rome, who both at 66-1 in the market. Well, Neil, it's actually looks like a 2-horse race, but I think with Cornish Pomodoro receiving 3 kilograms and a year older, it really does look like Cornish Pomodoro's race to lose.
Yeah, I mean, he's always had a touch of class about him. I felt that the Summer Cup came too early for him. He was a relatively inexperienced horse. In fact, he was one of the horses in the Summer Cup that I was prepared to give a freebie to. And let me clarify what I'm saying there, because admittedly, in hindsight, I wish I'd worked it out beforehand. Summer Pudding was taking on principally has-beens, or certainly horses that are not Group 1 material. At best, that was a B division handicap. And that's why last week I said quite clearly, I didn't mention 8 horses, like somebody said on the thing. I said, quote, unquote, Summer Pudding is a no contest. If it was a boxing match, they'd throw the towel in after 200 meters. Now, to me, that is only mentioning one horse and saying it can't get beaten. So I don't know where somebody who came on for his swan song and said that I mentioned 8 horses. And while we're talking about that, Nick, in the previous race to that, Under Your Spell was also a race where you didn't mention 8 horses. In fact, you said it's not a 2-horse race, it's a 1-horse race, and you're going for Under Your Spell, and you're not covering on anything. Now, that's not mentioning 8 horses, that's mentioning 1. So to clarify that, because I'm afraid some people just are delusional. So coming back to, in a roundabout way, what I'm saying about Cornish Pomodoro, I think he's still got mileage in him. You know, some of those old horses that ran in the Summer Cup, and they ran accordingly. But Cornish Pomodoro, to me, has still got running in him. And the Savannah Storm story, which you brought to life beautifully with Mr. Vermeulen, I think, to excuse the pun, still has legs itself. So I'm probably with you, Cornish Pomodoro. The problem is that there's no value.
Yeah, there isn't value. It is 6 to 10. But I think the fact that it is 3 kilograms lighter than Dr. Doolittle, and when you look strictly at the weights here, Dr. Doolittle is a net 98, which means that Cornish Pomodoro should be giving it 3 kilos. It's in fact receiving 3, so it's 6 kilos well in. So yeah, it's Cornish Pomodoro ahead of Dr. Doolittle. I don't really like anything else, Neil, so I'm going to keep it to Cornish Pomodoro for me, a banker.
Well, it's interesting, Nico, that you bank in Cornish Pomodoro, because that gives me more confidence, because I know that Fred has done you a favor. I mean, you backed and tipped Fred when it won at 14 to 1. You labeled it. Yeah. And it's proven pretty consistent. I mean, that was another good run last time. So if you're not going for Fred and you're going for Cornish Pomodoro, then that to me says it all.
Okay, Neil, let's move on to race number 5 for you now. And this, I had to get up early this morning and go through again and again and again. It's a merit rated 80 handicap, but for me, it's a fascinating race, 1600 meters. Scratch number 5, Greek Fire, and the now ill-fated 13 Sun Giant, which is a sad, sad loss for the De Kock stable, because he was one of their favorites in their yard in terms of just his sheer size, Neil. So those two out leaves 13 runners. Why I say it's fascinating, Neil, is because you've got the hard-knocking horses, the likes of Stormy Winter and Starflash. And then you've got the 3-year-old Brigade, Imperial Duke, Count Phonic Legacy, Earl, Governor's Glory. And it really throws the cat amongst the pigeons over here. I really like this race today in terms of what it offers the public, and it's extremely competitive. But that's why they're betting 5 to 1 the field. I'm going to throw it your way first and see what you've come up with. I liked a few horses here. I'll wait for you to see what you like first.
Well, let's start with Count Phonic Legacy, who was super, super impressive on debut. There was money for him too. And of course, Andrew Fortune is never short of confidence and a chirp or two. And I think he will have high hopes and high expectations for this horse, not only today, but just generally, because what we saw was pretty useful. And he's a Count de Bois, who I would put down as not a prolific sire, Nico, but when he gets them, he can make them run. I think off the top of my head, French Navy's a Count de Bois, isn't he?
I think so, yeah.
And, you know, he's been known to get them. I often, from, you know, looking in the past horses to buy, I always felt that he might be value for money. And this is another counterbar that's come on out of a green desert mare, who I think is pretty darn useful. Now, the question is, has this run come quickly? Because he ran on the 20th of February, which is, I suppose, a while back, but he was super impressive, I thought, so I'm going to start with him there. These guys are right at the window now, so I'll get you to give your opinion while they cut the grass.
Yeah, so well, yeah, I looked at Count Phonics Legacy's form, Neil, and I thought he had a chance. I preferred him to Imperial Duke, and as you'll remember, last time out I went for Imperial Duke, and I was very disappointed. But I think maybe the trip last time out found Imperial Duke out. He was back down to 1600. I don't think he saw out the 2000, which I thought on pedigree he would, having a look at the damn Imperial State. But I'm more in Count Phonic Legacy's camp than I am today in Imperial Duke's camp. But as far as the 3-year-olds go, Neil, top of my pile for the 3-year-olds today is actually number 9, Earl, the 10-1 chance. And the reason being is Luke Ferraris, when he rode it to a maiden win, rode a superb race when beating Parallax. Now,
Yes.
The next start, which was over 2,000 meters, was in the Derby Trial. Now, if you look at the Parmesan's Pride run, if you do like it on the Parmesan's Pride run, then you look at Zabajad, which is at 14-1 right down at the bottom, brought Zabajad into the race too. But I think for me, the 3-year-old I like here is Earl. And I'm prepared to say that I fancy Earl ahead of Imperial Duke, Count Phonic Legacy from the 3-year-olds here, and Governor's Glory for that matter. What are your thoughts on the younger horses?
Look, I mean, I went on about Count Phonic Legacy, and by the way, going back, Imperial Duke, I was nodding away because I wrote that myself. 2000 lost time, too far, was drawn 10 out of 10. So I am going to give him another sneak, Imperial Duke. So I think, to me, the 3-year-olds could be all much of a muchness. Not one particular one stood out. You said Earl stood out for you. I'm not saying Earl hasn't got a chance, but none of the 3-year-olds stood out for me. So I was looking for an older horse, and I like Stormy Winter. I'm going for Stormy Winter because I think the 4 kilograms is big. Now, we've had a raging debate about apprentices and so forth. And to me, it's not rocket science. Okay, I'm just going to spend just 1 minute because I was talking to somebody about this. I think it was Jason, actually, the other day at soccershop.bet. And I said, it's not rocket science. What happens to apprentices? This is my take on it. When an apprentice starts out in his very first ride ever, he claims 4. Now, let's just stop for a second there. What happens in that situation? The guy is having his first ever ride. He must be a nervous wreck, okay, with his whole career in front of him. Okay, and 0 experience in terms of being match fit. I mean, you can practice as much as you like, but when push comes to shove, when you're in competitive race, it's totally different. Okay, and he gets that 4 kilograms because of that, and because of the fact that he's just starting out, and by nature he's weaker than he is going to be in 2 years' time or 4 years' time. Okay, so at that point in time, an apprentice will quickly show where he is in terms of the maturity scale. There have been some over the years, Michael Roberts, Lyle Hewitson, that when they get their 4 kilograms are miles in front of everybody else from pure ability. Now, there comes a point in time when they lose the 4 and go to 2.5. And the same question then has to be asked. Where are they in the maturity scale? Are they still ahead of the curve? Same story when they get 1.5. So every single apprentice has an individual situation where is he? And also, does he stay on the same curve? Because what can happen is the loss of even 2.5 to 1.5, the loss of 1 kilogram is huge in the context of where that apprentice is in his career. But what will happen, guaranteed, is that it might take 2 months or 3 months or perhaps even later. But eventually, you know, the experience and the strength will be in a situation where suddenly the 1.5 is significant, and he starts to win those races because he's caught up. So for me, when I look at Colin Jacobs, I'm very happy with where he's at. Now, his brother, Jabu Jacobs, is well ahead of him, always has been. And that's why he was so prolific when he was a 4-kilogram claimer and a 2.5 claimer. I think he's only claiming 1.5 now, but I'm quite happy with Jabu Jacobs. I think even his 1.5 is effective. But Collar is still claiming 4, but where he is in the pecking order, he makes mistakes and he's not the strongest, but I think he's worth his 4 kilograms. So for me, Stormy Winter's going to get an okay ride, particularly as we're up the straight. So I don't have to worry about a 15 draw around the turn.
Yeah. Something very interesting, Neil, and I want to flash back to my early days, or the early days of merit rating and handicapping. And I once asked the question to a senior handicapper at the time to say, well, when you're rating a race, what emphasis do you place on the apprentice allowance? And you know what the answer was? 0. Correct. They don't place any emphasis on the apprentice allowance. So in other words, they would rate this race with Stormy Winter as a 62 kilogram horse, not 58. Yes. They wouldn't rate it on its 58, they'd rate it on its 62. So that, for me, effectively negates the whole issue when they're rating a race. And that's very important. Neil, yes. We have been a bit critical.
Just pausing there for a second, Nick, because it's worthwhile having these discussions. Because, and this is why people are it's not everybody, but a lot of people are complimentary. When we spoke the other day about riding styles, and people said it was a fascinating discussion and we read it well. What you've said there in the bigger picture sums it all up, because if the official handicappers aren't worried about it. Now, the reason they're not worried about it is because exactly what I said, those apprentices are getting their apprentice allowance because of where they're at. So their assumption is that this guy's only ridden 2 races, therefore he's getting 4 kilograms. The guy who no longer claims, i.e. a Luke Ferraris, who was booting home winners when he was level, was in a situation where he proved himself to be the best apprentice by a mile in the country. And so it wasn't any disadvantage for the horse to have an apprentice on it. In fact, in inverted commas, he wasn't really an apprentice. But now here's the thing from punting. That's the handicapper's opinion. But what I'm saying is that as a punter, you must have your own opinion. This guy is worth 4 kilograms. He is better than the average Joe who might have 4 kilograms.
Yeah.
So I'm going to mention names, okay, because people want to know names. Our friend who will improve, don't get me wrong. I don't know what Mr. Zuma's first name is in Durban.
Mfunelo.
He's behind the curve. I don't know him as an individual, but what I see him riding is he's got to strengthen up, he's got to improve. He's not worth 4 kilograms. Collar Jacobs, on the other hand, is way ahead of him. So although the handicapper might not factor in, when I see an apprentice race, okay, and I see the one's claiming 4 and the other one's claiming 4, in my mind, I'm thinking this horse is a massive advantage. But it's all opinion. That's the great thing about, which Graham Hawkins once told us on the channel. Racing is about opinion. Even when you go to the sales, it's about an opinion. Do you buy a Flower Alley? Do you buy a Soft Falling Rain? Do you buy Give Me the Green Light? Racing is always about opinion. And we have our opinion. So coming back to this race, my opinion is the Stormy Winter, because if I take the 4 kilograms off, it's going to carry 58. That means as a 4-year-old, he's only giving half a kilogram to Imperial Duke and a kilogram to Count Phonic Legacy. Mind you, he is giving 2 kilograms to your Earl. So I'm with you. It was a fascinating race. I still haven't finished studying it, by the way. I've got to continue.
Okay, so I have finished studying. So I'll mention the 4 that I ticked. I definitely like Earl from the young horses. Of the older horses, Neil, I have 3 horses in mind for you. I have 10 Atomic Blonde at 8-1. I think it's a runner.
Sure like that.
Yeah. I have 12 Putin's Promise, Neil, on a couple of runs, but it could be too far for Putin's Promise. I've put yet too far. I'm not convinced about the 1600 meters, but he did run last of 7 behind Puerto Manzano that day, but he came out and ran a good race behind August Rain. So I've put Putin's Promise in again. And then Zarbajad, second from the bottom there, because of Joshua and Solomon's 1.5. It's up the straight. It's run 2 good races, the course and distance, 3rd and a 4th. And I've put that in as well. So that's the way that I'm going. Stormy Winter, I respect because he loves this course and distance. So I'm going to also agree with you on that front. Right, let's move on to the 6th race now. And that runs just before 4 o'clock today. It's a 1,400 meter fillies and mares. Up the straight here again. Scratch number 7, Letitia's Angel. Due Diligence is the favorite at 3-1, Neil. With Castle Durrow, the disappointing Castle Durrow. I'm going to add that in because it ran a shocker last time out. It was drawn inside, and that day the inside was the worst place to be. But she has drawn 4 today of 8 horses. So she's drawn slap bang up the middle of them. There's been money for Rouge Allure, and Milk Queen has to hit shoulder 63.5 kilos, which I don't think is going to be possible for her to win it, from my point of view. All of Me is 5-1, and then the rest are 8-1 and better. How did you look at this, or how did you see this one?
Oh, I thought this was a real challenge, Nico. I spent a lot of time on this. Castle Durrow, to me, on lines through War of Athena, has Due Diligence beaten. But I think, the De Kock Yard is looking for a big race day on the weekend with Malmoose, and I'm sure they'll show signs of life today. They haven't been at their best. They've been a little bit flat. Not that they're running poorly, but if I look at a horse like Lagatha, for example, I think if the yard had been in better form, he would have won by now. He's run. To me, the runs of Lagatha represent where the yard is.
Yeah.
Just slightly off the boil, but yards can come in and out, and of course with champions like Mike de Kock, they peak at the right time. So I'm sure that the yard will be peaking because of Malmoose and others on the weekend. So I'm looking for Due Diligence to run well, but purely to give 6.5 kilograms to Castle Durrow, Nico, I don't think she can. Do you?
It's going to be very, very tough to. It's going to be extremely tough. But the question I want to pose to you, as I bring up the race here, is what about this horse?
Yeah, well, that's my second horse, Nico. And I've got written here, Upset. She's a 5-year-old. She's run behind. Well, go. Do me a favor. Go to. You see the win.
This race. This race first.
There's a whole bunch of races.
I want to do this race first, and I want to show you with Rouge Allure and Virginia here. Now, Rouge Allure was what I don't know what price Rouge Allure was, but it was a lot shorter than Virginia. They carried level weights.
No, there it is. It's 7-1, 25-4.
That's where they ran. 5.2 and 5.4. Virginia was 14-10 favorite.
Yes.
It's what price is it today? It's bottom of the boards, Virginia. It's bottom of the board.
10-1.
Or 12-1, I think. Yeah. The point is, today, Rouge Allure has to give Virginia, wait for it, 8.5 kilograms. 8.5 kgs. Wowee. Wowee. Which race did you want me to go to?
Okay, so go on to, where is Virginia, right? Let's have a look. So you've got the one win there. I'm just trying to find it in the pecking order. What is purple? Purple is what? Purple means it ran? Fifth.
Fifth, yeah.
No, this is way back then. Hold on a minute. Oh, no, I see where it is here. Okay, go. You see its win?
Yeah.
Yeah, go to the run before that, 242. And look what won.
Yeah, that was another point I was going to make. Yeah, Queen Supreme. Queen Supreme is headed to the Breeders' Cup, Neil.
Correct.
Queen Supreme is on her way to America. She won this race. Yes. Here's Rouge Allure again. So Rouge Allure gave Virginia, on this occasion, 7.5 kilos, Neil. Did give it 7.5 kilos. So that 7.5 kilos, beat it a length and a length 1.15.
But today it's going to give it 8.5.
They give it an 8.5, but that certainly does bring it into it, Rouge Alert. So that brings them closer together.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about value that I'd rather be with Virginia.
Well,
but
I'm
Nico,
saying
there's
not much between them.
No, but there's other form there. The Lady of Steel run I thought was pretty good as well.
Excellent run, Neil. The Lady of Steel run, which I want to go to quickly, was on the 7th of March, 719. Here we go. Here's the Lady of Steel run. This was a very good run of Virginia. Was beaten 2.25 lengths by Lady of Steel. Lady of Steel is a very progressive horse. But if you look at this, here's Rouge Allure, 53. Virginia carried 54. She gave her a kilo and beat her by over 2.5 lengths.
But there's lots of other well-performed fillies. Ferrari, I think, ran very nicely on Tuesday, as we thought she might, carrying top weight in a graduation. Cordillera won last week again. Saragon's the Gary Alexander mare, who's pretty useful. And there are others there. I just thought Virginia, like you, Nico, was a runner in this race. And interesting that you and I have found the same horse there, the value in the race. But I think you've got to respect a whole bunch of horses here. You know what I thought was quite well in was All of Me. If she stays, what was your feeling? Can she? I mean, she's now a 5-year-old. You know, she's out of a daughter of Jet Master. I don't think, has she tried the distance before?
Yeah,
she has.
I've marked 2 horses in the race, Neil. She was one of the 2.
Okay. She just, my gut feeling,
I looked at it. She's run over the distance. She hasn't run badly over the distance. She hasn't run badly over the distance at all. You know?
Yeah, I think you've got to respect her. And she's a serial winner. She's a nine-time winner. You know, there was a time where Jose Mourinho said about Arsene Wenger that he's a serial loser, which was rather offensive. But I think this filly is a serial winner. I mean, she's won 9 races. So she's a very good handicapper, and she'll be looking at Mill Queen next to her and saying, I've got 54 and you've got 63.5.
Yeah, Neil, I think this race is a lot wider open than it purports to be on the face of it. Look, they are betting 3-1, 7-2, 4-1, about 4 horses. All of Me 5-1, so it's not too far off them. Kayla's Champ, but I think go wider here than what you would normally do. I think Virginia's a chance at 12-1. I think All of Me's a chance at 5-1. Rouge Allure's got to have a chance. Is basically the line also at 4-1. Mill Queen, I think, has got too much weight, Neil. I think it's got too much weight. Castle Durrow and Due Diligence would have to have chances, but nothing's a good thing. For me, nothing's a good thing there.
No, I agree with you there. By the way, did you mention, because we've got a late scratching, Kayla's Champ has come through as a scratching.
Oh, has it? Okay, no, so that would be a late scratching then. It did run yesterday at Scottsville, Neil, so it was going to always be a late scratching. She ran 8. She was beaten by Quick Star by about 4 lengths or so, I see. Right, let's go on to the 7th race.
That used to be Colin Govan Sammy's horse, and I was going to send him a message when I see he got out of the horse.
Yes.
But that was NJ Udendal. Well done to them.
Yeah. So, Neil, here we move on to the 7th race. The fillies and mares 85 handicap, 1,400 meters. Scratch number 12, Golden Spiral. Blinkers go on number 7, Peyton's Tears. Who's an interesting runner. Right, I'm going to throw this open to you first. Let's see what you think of it. Florentina's favorite, shortish favorite, 14-10. She's got a stamp of class about her, and her last run to Castellano would prove that. She's a very good-looking horse out of that top mare, Franny. Did you see this as a banker?
No, Nico, I didn't actually. I know, you know, she's got a big reputation, and I have to respect that. But not particularly. I mean, she's got 57, so she's going to ship weight to some older fillies. But I do, look, I have utmost respect for her, but I'm going to come back to one of your old chestnuts who you generally have read pretty well, which is Me Time, who is going to get, a kilogram and a half and is a year older and also likes the wet. Now, I don't know how much rain they've had at the Vaal, but certainly the last 24 hours we haven't had any. But if they had any over a period of time, the sting will be out of the ground. That's the bottom line. Whether it's wet or not, it's much easier going than it would have been a month or so ago. And she's been running quite well on that kind of going. So for me, Nico, I was looking towards Me Time as almost, if you want to call it, the line horse in the race, because I think that she will run well. She's in a good vein of form, and I think she's are you showing the betting? Because I'm on another site. I think she's as big as 7-8 to 1.
That's right, she is. I'm showing the betting currently. She is 7 to 1 at the moment.
Coming back to you now, looking at scratchings. Did we mention? I didn't hear you because I'm just bringing up to date with scratching. So that Golden Spiral scratch, was that scratched earlier?
Yeah, I did mention that. Yeah, Golden Spiral is scratched in this race.
Yeah, so if you're looking at value, Nico, Florentine, you've got the betting up there, is 14 to 10 to win. Me Time is basically the same price a place. I would rather, I'd rather be conservative and just go Me Time to run in the first 3. Thumbs up.
That's the horse I like. They've got to beat Me Time. They have to beat Me Time with Warren Kennedy today on the run to Say When, Neil. And she was drawn badly that day. She was drawn 11 out of 12 and ran Say When to half a length. And she's down 4.5 kilos from that run. I think they got her to beat. Look at the run to Sweet Future, who's a top animal. She's down 4 kilos from that run, and she got beat 2 3/4 lengths. So I think Me Time will throw a spanner in the works for Florentine today. I think she is certainly the horse to beat. But I want to come back to Peyton's Tears, Neil, because our good friend Dean Sham backed this last time out and said to us it was a huge runner behind Thumbs Up with Joshua and Solomons. And then he showed us the replay behind Hear the Trumpet before the race began.
Yes.
I was wary that she wouldn't put it in, and she hung. She was difficult, but she's back up the straight today, and she's got Gavin Lorena on. So 10 to 1 is also a bit tempting on Peyton's Tears. So I'm going to back Me Time up with Peyton's Tears and Florentine in this race. But Me Time clearly my first choice. But I want to elevate to Peyton's Tears. The coup de grace, the jury's out on them. But she might just improve today.
Yeah, lovely named filly, of course. Cry the Beloved Country, Alan Payton's brilliant novel, and not only in a South African context, but gained worldwide recognition and made into a movie. Sometimes books that are made into a movie don't do justice. This was a pretty good movie, if you remember. It had no less than James Earl Jones starring it, and Richard Harris played the father of the other boy. Great movie. I must actually haul it out and watch it again, Nico. But what a great book, Cry the Beloved Country. And yeah, interesting that what interests me about this, Nico, and I must ask Mary or Stephen or Jessica, probably Mary, when we see her, how come she ended up buying this filly? Because it's a Claverflay stud thing. It's not impossible. You know why Mary could have bought this? Because of its name. She might well have just said, what a great name. I want to buy that filly.
She would have named it, because Claverflay don't name their horses. So she would have named it. Oh,
I see. Okay. Well, maybe she had plans to name it. But anyway, I find it interesting because they didn't breed it. And she doesn't normally buy horses at sales, does she? And certainly not a coup de grace, so she must have seen something. Anyway, that's by the by. Nico, I hear what you're saying with Peyton's Tears. Definitely a jockey strike. And but for me, Me Time, like you, I thought was a big runner. And to be honest with you, if I'd priced up on this race, I would have had Me Time as short as 4 to 1. So when I see double that price, I thought, wow. Value.
Okay, Neil, let's kick on to the last race, and then we'll do our soccershop.bet price boost for today. The last race is open again. It's a classified stakes race over 1,500 meters. Scratched are numbers 8, Time for That, and 14, Big City Girl. There were 16 runners that are left here. I think, again, this race was added in because as I was studying last night, I looked at the program, what the story was, and this isn't even in the program. It's not even in the official racing program as a race that was listed for people to nominate. It's not even listed as a program race.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened. It was a lastminute.com addition to the field. But
they must have lost a race. They must have lost a race, Pat. That
they did. They probably did late, but it's not officially part of the program for today's race meeting, which I found absurd. But that said, this has elicited a great bit of interest from our good friend Shaheen Shaw in Cape Town today. Because at, I think it was 6 o'clock this morning, the phone started beeping with asking us our thoughts on the 8th and last race today. So let's go.
I haven't seen it.
Anyway, you can see it later, but I don't know if you studied this race thick and hard, but
yes.
Under Trois 4-1, Golden Spoon, Manitoba, and Soul of Wit 7-1 with Tiki Taka. Big City Girl's a late scratching, so you can take Big City Girl out. It's no longer a runner. Kapama's at 10s, Burning Ice Grazing in the Grass at 12s, Bravo 1 14s, and then 20s Bar. How did you see this one, Neil?
So as you know, Nico, when I study a card, I go back to front. So I start with the last race. So I began here.
Well, you must have spent 2 hours on it.
Exactly. Minimum. I began here, and 3 hours later I went to bed. Okay, admittedly, I had one eye on Parks Racing, which I have to say buried me last night.
Oh, shame.
I mean, oh no, it was terrible. Parks Racing, but I only have myself to blame because Parks Racing is the equivalent of Flamingo, and I was involved there. But anyway, yeah, so I did 3 hours of studying on this race. Because I always respect Rod Beckus, and I was astonished when he tipped Grazing in the Grass, which I spent about an hour trying to figure out why he liked Grazing in the Grass, because I don't. I don't know. But anyway, what did he actually say? Grazing in the Grass, I read it last night. Grazing in the Grass could beat her home if behaving at the jump. So he was towards Golden Spoon, who I've got to respect because she's a Vercingetorix. And she's drawn 15, so she could improve. But no, for me, Nico, I was heading towards 2 runners, and they're both trained by St. John Gray. And the first for me is Soul of Wit, who is a 5-year-old mare, but on multiple lines is very well in here. I mean, she has actually dropped down over a period of time, Soul of Wit. 23 merit rated points from an 86 to a 63, and with Muzzy on board, she was my clear first choice, Soul of Whitnick. I see you nodding, so you obviously felt the same way.
Yeah, she's a big runner, Neil. She was one of my 2 in the race. Funny enough, I did like the other St. John horse. You were going to talk about Bitter Wind, were you, at 33-1 down at the bottom here?
Yeah, also no weight, and I've ignored the last run. To be honest, she's proven disappointing, and I don't know quite what's up with her. I'm trying to excuse those last couple, but maybe she's just been a bit flat. But with the apprentice taking weight off, I mean, she comes back and finds some of that earlier consistency where she showed pace and ran well behind Single Red Rose and beat Pinup. Then I think she could be a big runner. At 33-1, so she's drifted off the boards.
Well, this race offers a lot of value, Neil, because I marked 2 horses in the race, and I did put them on the group, and I'm happy that you didn't see the group because it might have affected you, the group's discussion on this race this morning. But one of them was definitely Soul of Wit, who is my first choice. The other one that I quite like is number 13, Twice the Surge, Neil, from the Fabian Habib stable. Cole Dickon rides, and I put that one in. That's as big as 25-1 and 3-1 a place, the first 4 by the looks of things there. So I quite like that. So my top 2 were the horse that you mentioned, Soul of Wit, Twice the Surge. I do like Bitter Wind. I do put it in for a chance. Tiki Taka ran a nice race last time out for wider players. But Neil, yeah, I was leaning towards horses at the bottom of the boards here, and particularly Soul of Wit, Neil, interested me at 7-1. So very happy that you found it after 3 hours.
Yeah, it took me a while. I found it quickly, but then you keep going and studying, and then you get reaffirmed.
Mine was the result of 3 hours. Put it that way. That's why I had to come back to race 5 early this morning, because I ended off my evening on that note. But I do like those horses, Neil. I really make it an interesting day's racing. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I like that race for the PA. The PA, I think, can pay that last race. What did Shaheen like? Was Shaheen sort of pushing towards anything?
Grazing in the grass.
He likes grazing in the grass as well, does he?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I respect Shaheen enormously and Rod Beckus enormously, so they've obviously found something.
Yeah, it was
see, the thing is, I mean, hang on, I think this was the race where I did some studying using Wolf's World and Shadow Creek, and I wasn't over enamored. But the other thing is that they're in, Nico, they're also in a classified race, aren't they? So that benefits our fillies. But okay, well, I'll certainly upgrade it. I'll upgrade it to include.
Yeah. So that's correct. We're going for a filly in a classified stakes, which wouldn't be for the first time. In fact, it's a mare. But so that's the assessment of today's race.
Oh no, there it is. Okay, sorry, before you go, right? Yeah. That was the reason why, and again, I reiterate, twice the surge is a gelding. I wrote here gelding, which is a negative because of the classified, but a runner on your horse twice the surge. So I just want to quickly show you, which you would have seen if you've studied for 3 hours, the 4th of February run. Grazing in the grass, beat twice the surge. Beat him by exactly 3 lengths. Okay. But grazing the grass.
4th of February now.
Yes, 4th of February this year.
Yeah, but they didn't run together. Oh, they did. Sorry. I'm with you. Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So grazing in the grass, plus 3.5, twice the surge, down 2.5. Yeah. 6 kilogram turnaround for 3 lengths.
Yeah.
And we've got a draw of 11. So,
sorry, I thought you meant the 4th of February last year, because they ran on the 4th of February. Well, twice the surge ran on the 4th of February the year before when it won its maiden, beating Bravo 1.
No. Recent form, which is on the 4th of February this year.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's that kind of race. But I do respect
that kind of race. But Neil, let's pick the soccershop.bet. I don't think it's going to be too tough because we like the same horses. So let's go, Neil. Am I right in saying that we'll go for Me Time at Place?
Yes.
Soul of Wit at Place?
Yes.
And?
Well, what else did we find?
Cornish Pomodoro to win? Cornish Pomodoro to win?
No, no. I mean, it will win, but 5 to 10. I don't want to chase a 5 to 10 shot. What about? Sure, I suppose.
Let's leave it at that. Shall we leave it at that?
Yeah, leave it at that. You should get a decent price.
Me Time at Place, Soul of Wit at Place.
Yeah, let's not get over
our price booster for today. If you log on to soccershop.bet a bit later, up until about midday, you'll see that offered, and I'm sure they'll offer you a big, nice price booster there. So Me Time at Place, on to Soul of Wit at Place, Neil.
Yeah, but you might as well ask him. Tell him to take the win double as well, which will be lunaticish.
I'm going to ask him to do the win double. I'm going to actually say that to him. The win double and the place double, Neil. I agree with you. We'll do the win double. That shows you that we're bullish. So Me Time, a win. On to Soul of Wit, a win is our second price booster. Neil, it's been great chatting to you. I know you're taking a couple of days off, a couple of evenings off, but you and I will regroup on Saturday morning as a double header. We'll do the preview of Derby Day on Saturday morning, when we'd have studied Derby Day in greater detail. And then we've got our first weekend Clubhouse radio show on Radio Today, which we'll send out the link to on our show. And that starts at 11 a.m. and finishes at 2 p.m. on Saturday. But looking forward to the weekend, Neil. It's Easter. Enjoy your Easter with your family, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, Nico.